So, you are in the hall. Okay. Sanuko. Were you there when we were? Based on my discussion with you, that's the interview, and give me a paper. And I went to the school in 1970. I finished it. Abdul Qadir Oridi. He was the one who came over here for the interview. So after that, we only about 9 of us out of class ABC that passed for the grade 2 examination at one sitting. And in my case, when I came back after the grade 2, I was posted to Kuta to teach. I reported, but after 7 days I packed. Before the exams came out, I moved on. I went to College of Education, believing that I had passed. So I passed. I reported for 7 days. I enjoyed Odoji. Odoji was an increase in that around 73, 74, and with the money of Odoji they paid to me. Road, I'll put to my box, yes, ma'am. There was no trouble then, no arm robbery. How old were you then? Well, I was, let me see, by 74, I was not even 20 then. I was about 19 by 74. Because if 74 to minus 55, yeah. I was born November 12, 1955. No, gregariousness was part of me. So the issue of, since I was a small boy, like I said, in secondary school, I was too small to be given a prefect, and then one of the noise makers and troublemakers in the school. So nobody gave me prefect, but I became president of virtually most of the clubs. I was either the president or the secretary general. So I really had more influence than even the prefect or the head boys in school. And when I went to College of Education, they said you need to stay until you are in second year to run for either the speaker or the president. I don't know how I did it now, because if you ask me, I wouldn't remember. But in my first year, they elected me the speaker of the parliament. In my second year, they elected me the president of the student union. And college, but now College of Education. In fact, they call it now Shehu Shagari College of Education. Yeah. So I went for NYSC, posted to school, and while there, I have many of the people that we served together that we still communicate. That was 77, 78. It was during that time that I came into contact with Submonu, Hassan Submonu, and as a result of that contact with my student union politics, I joined the trade union politics. And when I came back in 78, I resuscitated the Nigerian Union of Teachers and reorganized it properly. And then became the first secretary of Nigeria Labour Congress in Niger State. And then later on was elected the chairman of the Labour Congress. And then at the NUT level, initially I went back to College of Education to teach about 3 years, and then from there I went to the University of Pittsburgh. After finish, but I left in December of '84. I left in December of '84 and started class in January '85. Finished my master's in June '86. And then in September, October '86, after the program, I finished that in '89. And in March '90, I was married. But even there, I was elected the president of Pan African Association, that was the Pan African Student Institute of Pittsburgh. Very nice. And I was there 25. I started classes January of 85, and I finished my PhD 89. And I came home March of 90. Yes. Oh, sure. I will run that one into. You want passport, but you won't come back. You don't go yonder, you go and meet him. You will come. But my mom is around, but she's going to make us do. Don't worry, you will get enough. I hope you have enough time to.
Okay, so that's what.
Exactly. So for me, it appears the gregariousness was always there, but I never came out to say I wanted. For the House of Reps, believe me, I was in school when a delegation from Mina here met me, and I answered. This one, I think everybody is aware of the story of how I came into this. So, inspiration, but I grew up in a political home, if you will, both traditional leadership and I recall that my father, I think either in 57 or 60 something, was, in fact, when he wanted to run under the MPC and they muzzled him, he ran as an independent candidate for election.
So it has been there.
Yes.
So he's been there, and well, if you look at the blood, you won't see it, but
How I wish we could see the blood so that we take.
No, you want some?
No.
Oh,
I'm not saying so, sir.
Okay.
So what about your career, where you worked, how you got into wherever you worked before? Because still want to interview some of your colleagues.
I taught at Government Teachers College, which used to be, the Government Teachers College is the current university here in Boso.
Okay.
That's why I taught 1978 to 1980. Okay. By 80, I told you I went back to school. Then I taught for about four or 5 months at the College of Education, Sokoto. Then I told you I went to the House of Reps. I told you I also served in Gibraltar Martins Memorial Grammar School in Bobby. Then when I came back, I was appointed Assistant Chief Political Affairs Officer, which I was given acting at the same time of Chief Political Affairs Officer.
It's still some few minutes to 12 o'clock. It's still good morning. Red Carpet Protocol, they are the producers of Governor's Mandate Television. We are on NTA International, 8 p.m. every Monday. We showcase the positive and achievement of governors across the 36 states. For the first time in the history of democracy, we've been able to showcase the achievement of numerous governors across Nigerians in Canada, in UK, and in Europe. This morning, we are here with you. With me, I have on my left is one of us. And the aftermath that has brought mistakes.
Thank you very much. Initially, when we told Nigeria that we have received the mandate, there were some few people who misunderstood what NAFES was all about. I guess there was the misconception that it was about nudity and things like that. So we needed to do a lot of publicity for people to appreciate the meaning, and that it was a Nigerian thing, that we were to bring Nigerians. And for me, I felt very happy that we were doing so, because many people, that would be the first time that they will be arriving in Niger State. And whatever experience, positive or otherwise, they get, that will be their image of not only Niger State but of the North. Because some of them that will be coming, even from the northern states, some of them will be the first time they are crossing to another state to really find out how Nigeria was all about. And I'm happy that we hosted that, because in terms of organization and in terms of experience that has given and the exposure that it gave to our officers, and also later on when NAFEST came and people saw that it was not what they were misinformed about, believe me, everybody was very happy that we did host it. And the economic thing that it brought, the kind of marketing and the market that it brought, many Nigerians were very happy about that. And I'm very happy. I knew right from day one that it was going to be an excellent out. But you know, when in democracy, you must really educate people properly before you take any venture. And that became very obvious to us, because even though those who were opposed to it were very few, still we needed to have done a lot of enlightenment before hosting the activity. But I'm happy that we did. I'm happy that later on everybody is happy about it.
Yes. How will you engage your administration outwards?
When we came in, I promised that I will not be talking about the past. But now that you asked the question, because we cannot judge where you are now without looking back where you came from. When we came in, we prioritized our activities. One, we created a vision which we shared with all Nigerites, that our vision will be 3-20-20, meaning that Niger State will be among the top 3 economies in Nigeria by the year 2020. There are some obvious states by nature or by where they are or by the resources that they have gotten, that when you talk about developmental indices, you will make them 1 or 2. All I'm saying is, if we mobilize properly and we're able to look at our comparative advantage and utilize it, that we will be among the top 3 economies. So with that, we prioritize to say, what should be our first priority? We said education, followed by agriculture, followed by health, followed by infrastructure. And in health, we discovered that all our hospitals were virtually dead. No renovation, no nothing, and Niger State was the least paid, at least were paying the health workers, from the doctors to nurses and everybody. While our neighboring states were paying, for example, 140 something to a doctor, 1,000 to a doctor, Niger State was paying 67. So virtually all the qualified, including Niger State indigenous, were going out to work. So we had to review that to come at par with our neighbors, and we had to undertake a direct issue of renovating and equipping our hospitals. And the general hospitals, we renovated all. We have equipped them now properly. When I took over, one funny thing was that in the whole of Niger State, there was not even incubator. And one of our big men in Niger State lost a child because there was no incubator in the hospital. But I'm happy that now we have more than 30 incubators in the general hospitals. We are building 3 new general hospitals, which by God's grace will be commissioned between December and February. So the primary health care, we also make sure that the local government, because this time around we are funding the local government as their funds come from the Federation account. So each one we meet and agree on what they will do, and we make sure that each one of them had built more of the primary health care. And then we utilize our MDG funds in provision of healthcare facilities. We also, as a northern, at the Northern Governors Forum, had a summit on health and agreed that all of us will provide free medical services to children between 0 to 5 years old, the pregnant women, and old people. And I'm happy that virtually at least half of the states have started that program, including United States. So for us, we will say we have done so much in the health sector, and we are continuing to do because we still have a lot to do. What has happened is that the development in that area had not kept its path with the human need for healthcare facilities. And that is where we have our priority remain education, agriculture, health, and infrastructure. And believe me, compared to what we took over, you can give us an 80% mark if you are a good teacher.
Okay, sir. You just list out your priority and you mentioned education.
Yes, sir.
Now, in education, how do you say you rate yourself with your, in terms of your priority? What have you achieved? Because as we are coming, we still see some of the schools that have no roofs. We see some.
I don't know which way you came.
Just Minaru, Abuja.
Yeah, you see what? This is what I said. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to say to somebody, you know, when 100 people are there, 99 praising you, you don't care. It is when one person abuses you. All the new paints of school that you saw, you didn't take note of that, but you took note of the ones without roof. But when you are going, take note of, you will notice that from Mina up to by the time you take your corner by Magic, you know, you don't enter Suleja, you take corner by Magic, Diko, and then you burst at the main road. Look at all the schools. You will notice that they have new courts of painting. If you enter now, you will not see children sitting on the floor. When I took over, I went to a classroom where there were up to 150 pupils sitting on the floor. When I looked at the blackboard, I saw more than 7 mistakes on the blackboard, meaning that the teachers were no better than the students that they were teaching. And I went to another classroom, and I saw a classroom divided into 2. One class looking at the other side and the other one looking, and when the teachers were talking, all that we stopped. Our challenge now is to stop. There are some schools, because of their population, they are doing this shift system. That one is to stop them. What we have done also is to remove the fees. So in the United States is free education, free books. Indeed, we have now reached free uniforms. And we pay the exams fees of NECO, WAEC, and NAPTEP. And we also pay attention to all our students in the tertiary institutions. I have said that anywhere where we have up to 100 students, I will visit them personally. And I have visited many universities, donated 2 million naira whichever group I visit, I will donate 2 million naira to them and a bus. 2 million so that they have these services that they can render to one another at subsidized rate. They open whether a shop or whatever, but they will be making money for the United States Student Association that is in that school. And then the bus, not only do they utilize it as an association, but that they can use it in the school campus and raise funds for themselves. And so the achievement is, one, the girl child that used to suffer a lot of discrimination, particularly in this part of the world. Now we have encouraged parents to feel that they can really send their children to school. We have also made it possible for the poor parents to allow their children to remain in the classroom. But above that, what we have linked up with is that in the northern part, you cannot afford to have graduate unemployment. Because here we are doing everything for primary school, secondary school, up to the tertiary. But when they graduate, then you have a child with a degree and spending 3-4 years without a job. It discourages the parent to say, look, my child has graduated and no job for him, and he cannot go back to the farm because he feels that he has a degree. So in Niger State, we said, no, we cannot afford that. In 2008, when we started our graduate employment scheme, we got about 4,800 graduates of NCE, HND, and degree. We gave them a 6-month training because some of them had graduated 5 years. So they have forgotten what they might have done. And each one of them, we paid 10,000 naira per month for the 6 months. So each candidate got 60,000. Lucky for us, as they were undergoing the course, about 20% got jobs at other institutions. We discovered that many people do not even understand what an aptitude test is. So they got frightened, or they get frightened when they go for this kind of examination. So part of the training was IT and how to conduct an interview or run an interview, and how to undergo certain examinations and go. And also how to, if you are in the civil service or in the private sector, how you are expected to behave. Many of them got jobs. And then the others that did not, we absorbed them in the system because we were looking for qualified teachers. And here are qualified teachers roaming in the streets. This year, we got 6,500, but we discovered many of the states, particularly our neighboring states, all applied. And I had some difficulties even paying the allowances of the 10,000 and for the 6-month probation. So we are still working on that. In fact, the committee of the graduate employment scheme is waiting to brief me of how far, whether we can conclude it, because we need to conclude this one, because by next year, you know, the NYSC is now about 3 batches, ABC. So by the time they come back, if we are not careful, we may end up now. This is another problem.
According to that,
so thank you. So far so good in terms of education. Parents are happy now. They notice what is happening. But believe me, the challenges are more, because we're dealing with a problem that has taken about 30, 40 years of rot that has been, of neglect that has been happening. And suddenly we want to correct them. So we're taking them as we go along. As part, even that one too, at the Northern Governors Forum, we had a summit on education. And we agreed that each governor annually should at least renovate 1/4 of his infrastructure. So that by the time he finishes his 4 years, he will have renovated all the school system. We need to have qualified teachers in the schools. You may have heard the story of the state that we're talking of quality of teachers. By their standard, education will not have been a priority because they have been doing a lot in that direction. But when they tested some of their teachers with the lower expectations, the teachers failed. So I'm sure that has opened our eyes to know that teachers should have training and retraining so that they fit into the place. If you send somebody to the village and he teaches for 2 years without training, believe me, he may become worse than his previous. So you need to expose him almost every quarter, that he can have new techniques and also be exposed to new knowledge.
Back to the area of health.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned about the APPs.
Yes, sir.
In what way have your state been able to meet up to this target in the area of infant to child mortality, access to safe drinking water?
No, I guess we are not talking of targets yet. The target is 2015. So maybe by 2014 you will ask me. But what we have done in terms of that, the MDG, my mention of the MDG is there is this collaboration between the federal government and the state government. The federal government, through the MDG office, will give you some amount of money if you are able to counterpart fund it. Now, that is a new dimension that was introduced. And I have gotten between 2000 and at least 2008 and 2009, I have been able to counterpart fund. But the other ones that they have been given, I have problems with them in the provision of what they have been doing on the ground. So the target thing, believe me, we have not measured that. But the accessibility now to healthcare facilities where there were none, believe me, we have been able to do, because what we have done is we have even created a first tier of government in the sense of creating a means for people to themselves at the local level. We have what we call the wards, apart from local government. In Niger State, we have 274 wards. And in each ward, what we did was to tell them to select their own people, because we know at the ward level, everybody knows everybody. So they appoint their own people, they appoint a chairman of the ward development committee, and monthly we give them money and say, you decide what you want. Is it your health, a primary health care center that is bad and you want to do something, or you want to buy medicine, or you want to do other things? Every month we give them money. And we started this in 2007, and every ward we were giving it 500,000 naira to do something monthly. And now we have increased it to 1 million naira for the 274 wards. And many of them, they either go to education or to health and what they were doing. Now, I told you that we fund the local government properly. They are also involved, the state and then the MDG. So, but in terms of achievement, target achievement, we haven't measured that. But I believe that by most of us will start looking at that by 2013 and 2014, and to see the kind of adjustment that needs to be done. Because in the developing countries, I don't know whether we'll be able to achieve the MDG targets, because either we have not done as much as we should be doing because of the number of population. The number of population and the lack of planning, both on the part of government and the lack of family planning, because certain people now, if you talk to them about family planning, they might even bring religious sentiment into the matter. But societies that are planned and where you can project that a family may not have more than 4 children at a go, you may be able to plan some of this things properly and even monitor the targeting and the achievement of the targeting. For us, we need to do more in that direction.
So you talked about giving a certain amount to wards.
Yes.
Have you been able to see physically what the wards?
We never give them the next month money until we confirm what they have done. So there are, in each local government, the commissioner or the highest political appointee and other political appointees and the chairman of local government are the ones supervising the whole local government. Then at the ward level, for each ward, there is a political appointee. There is also the councillor. And where it matters, either the pastor or the imam of that ward will be a member. So they will sit and agree what they want to do for that month. They do it, give us our report, and we have an office that is in charge of making sure this is up. And we meet monthly with the chairman of local government and these political appointees to confirm what has happened before releasing the next amount of money. And we have other independent inspectors that go to do this.
Your Excellency, your priority TED is infrastructural development.
Yes, sir.
In terms of infrastructural development, road is one of them.
Yes, sir.
Let me start with road.
I have, in Niger State, I have the longest federal routes. And believe me, for the past 10, 15 years, none has been touched. We have been talking about dualization of Minna Abuja Road, and that was part of the agreement that was reached before 80% of Niger State was carved out to have FCT. None has been done. What I'm trying to do now is either to go private and get this dualization done and then concession the road so that it can get the money back, or the federal government to assist us. But currently, what the federal government has done is to give the contract for Abuja. You know, I'm sure on your way you saw Lambata or Gauba Bangida, and then that other road that took to Lapai, Agaye, Bida, Mokwa, that will bust into the Jeba Kaduna Road or Lagos Kano Road. That contract has been given out already for rehabilitation and repairs, which to us is a good thing. We are also happy with the dredging of River Niger, which is up to Barrow, and then the contract for the rehabilitation of railways. You see, we stand a good chance in terms if our infrastructure will good. The Lagos Ibadan road had already been done. Ibadan Ilorin road is on, so I'm expecting the next one will be Ilorin Jeba or Ilorin Mokwa Kaduna and Kano. But the essence of it all is that I have the longest federal route, and I need more attention of the federal government. And if policies are going to be made, in terms of federal structure, we need to be taken into consideration. Because some of the roads that the federal government was even doing, they have been returned back to us without consultation. All I got was a letter to say the roads of so place is now returned back to the state. When the contract was given, the state was not consulted, and now returning it without even telling me whether the contractor has been fully paid and is supposed to complete it. So if that is what we are talking, the infrastructure that I'm talking about is the decay of the roads even within the cities. And then the linkages of local government, because we have what we call state roads. And in that, I've already given, in fact, the work is going on, apart from the cities, the work is going on of about 600 kilometers within Niger State. I had to take a loan, actually, but a long time now. I have to take a bond of 6 billion to give this contract for the roads. They mostly linking local government or linking markets, for economic viability. And that's part of the requirement of the bond, that you cannot just do it for luxury, but you needed to have economic viability on these roads. In Minna alone, we have dualized many roads in the city and electrified or put electric light on the streets and brought back all the things that were not there before. You see, I have promised me I'm not going to be looking back, but otherwise, the comparison will be from when I took over, what we took over, or what we saw on the ground, and what we're doing now.
So back to what you just said. Most of the time, the dividend of democracy is only based on the capital.
That's unfortunate.
What we say the administration has done to the hinterland, the villages, the towns, other towns around Nigeria.
One, for each of the 25 local government, we have now the contract has been issued, the work has started, that in each local government headquarters within that town, there should be 10-kilometer road constructed, apart from the one that the government was doing directly in most of the cities. Then the hinterland, I talked to you about the wards. That is actually the hinterland. The Ward Development Committee, apart from what we're doing, the MDG water scheme, the local government water scheme, and the state water scheme, they are all on within. The primary health care, this is more to do with the hinterland actually. The general hospitals, yes, you can say it's more to do with the town, and sometimes with the pressure, because some of the roads, for example, one of the new general hospital is in Tafa local government, which is new, we say, if you follow Kaduna. Because of the accident, there is a lot of pressure on the Suleja General Hospital. So we thought siting one by the side will reduce the pressure on the Suleja one. Then we went into the hinterland, here we call it Gulu, which is actually sometimes during the rainy season so far away. And we sited one. Then we went also into the hinterland and sited one in Nasco, the general hospital. So generally ours is, because you cannot achieve much. The votes, in fact for a politician, the votes are coming more from the hinterland, from the interior. So you must pay more attention to the interior because they are actually your voters. But again, the capitals, when somebody like you have come now, you are likely from Minna Goba. Whatever you see in Minna, that's your impression of Niger State. Whenever Niger State is mentioned, is what you have seen, that is your impression. So that's why even the urban areas, we must take care of them. The only issue, like I kept telling you, is that because a lot of work need to be done. And unfortunately for us, the past 1 year, Niger State lost about 40 to 45% of what comes to it in terms of federation account. And because the culture had not been sustained in terms of internally generated revenue, when I took over, the internally generated revenue that was coming was not more than 80 million naira per month in a state of about 3.9 million people. So we now turned it, at least we get about 300, 400 million. But I know that if we try very well, and people now that they see where their money is going to, they are likely to pay more. So I've given a target of 600 million per month, gradually to push it to 1 billion. Because many states now that are generating internally generated revenue, you can see the magic that is happening in those states. And this is the thing that we need to push and let people know that for every good service that you get, you need to pay for it.
Yes. Excellency, this is the power state.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And we've heard from now from by that the electrical or power supply here is very epileptic. Is there any plan by the administration to construct an independent power project, since you have several dams like the Gurara Dam and other?
We had the 3 hydro power stations, and I kept saying, now with the gas coming and other places, maybe the title may shift. Because if you have a state that generates maybe 6,000 megawatts, and then you are generating 3,000, you can't go on calling yourself the power state. Anyway, but that's for the future. So what we have been doing is through the federal government encouragement too. We're talking of Gurara and Zungiru. That's for the hydro. We are also exploring the possibility. Unfortunately, the solar system is so expensive at the beginning. The infrastructure for it is expensive at the beginning. It might become cheaper as you go along. So we've been talking to so many investors, but by the time we really come to do the arithmetic, we can see that maybe we will allow the federal government to pick up such those ones. But otherwise, unless you need small ones, and independent, like in the school, in the hospital, that's the one that you can afford to have. So the ones that we are very serious about is the Gurara, that we have gone very far in the discussion. In fact, we were lucky that as we were talking to private investors, the federal government was already thinking of another thing. If you recall, the Zungiru one the contract for the Zungiru one was given, in fact, by the last administration, by the Obasanjo administration. But I think it was scuttled later on. But the current government is also thinking of the awarding that one. So if we have the 2, and with the 3 being rehabilitated, we will be able to have enough. But I guess our problem as a nation in terms of energy is not whether you generate or you do not generate. It's this idea of national grid. I have noticed that in other countries, what you do is you can segregate a given environment and have a supplier for that environment, so that if anything happens to the national grid, it does not have to affect everybody. For example, Niger, FCT, maybe Kogia and Kwara will have one company that generates electricity for these states. But everybody who now, even if I have an independent power supplies now, I have to give it to the national grid. And up to today, they have not unbundled the PSCN. So even if I give it, they will not be able to pay me back. And that is what is discouraging some people from really going. Because when you invite an investor, the first agreement will be, how do I get my money back? So that's where we are now. And lucky enough, at least the federal government is doing its best. But believe me, we don't have time on our side. When small countries like Ghana now could celebrate 2 years of non-interrupted power supply, and the giant is here. was what you called epileptic.
Your Excellency, do you have anything for youth development in your state?
For
Youth development?
yes, sir, I'm part of the youth campaign. And since I came in, we have had a situation where we sponsored more than 1,000 youth outside the state to study and acquire skills. Some of them for 9 months, some of them for more than that. Now, what we have on the ground is the mobilization of the youth. We have already understudied the youth and segregated them. Those who have had some element of education, those who are actually illiterate, and those who are dropped out as a result of either not passing their WAEC or NECO and CO, and then segregating them so that they can enjoy it. But most importantly is the agricultural part. For the first time, the federal government has an agricultural policy that has captured the youth. And that is the comparative advantage that Niger State has. I have the largest land mass, and 80% or 85% of that is arable. And we're already thinking of how really to get the youth interested into the agriculture by making sure that in each local government we have what we can call a model settlement for the youth. And lucky for me, apart from the municipal local government here that may not have land, all the local governments have enough land for us to be able to do that. So those are some of the areas we are looking at.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, finally, how do you cope with the two former presidents in your state?
No, surprisingly, wonderfully well.
Because there's been a vast campaign rumor against
that.
you
That has been on. I think it was, like I kept explaining to people, there was a misunderstanding at the beginning. Some people thought that they could use one of them to gain more advantage. But gradually, when the information became very clear, I think we were able to clear that debris. And those who are trying to exploit that kind of situation realized that they were losing. And now we have, at least I have no problem with the former heads of state. And believe me, they advised me rightly.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You give us a senator tune.
United States. And believe me, I enjoy watching the governor's mandate. This is one television program that all Nigerians should watch because it brings to them the concept of democracy, the ingredients of democracy, and the elements that we can understand whether democracy is being entrenched in our society. It brings out good governance that all Nigerians should pay attention to, because without good governance, we would have been wasting our time and we will not develop. I appeal to all Nigerians to pay attention to this program and add value into it. I thank you very much.